Well, everybody. Oh my goodness, I gotta stop that sucker. Hang on a second.
That's exciting. That's a way to start things out. All right.
There we go.
Apparently, we've started.
All right.
I love it.
Alert, alert. We're here.
Alert, we are here. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Melissa Hailey with Agent Advantage Coaching and Training. And today we are talking about changes are here, everything you know to stay prepared. And that, of course, is important as we are moving forward, right? So today we are joined by Texas Realtors President and CEO, Mike Barnett.
Hello,
Thank,
everybody.
thank you for being here today, as well as 2026 Chairman of the Board, the lovely Jennifer Wauhob.
Good morning. Thank you.
I-
You just gave me PTSD. That sounded like my alarm clock when I was growing up. You know, those old school alarm clocks.
Brr, brr, brr. I know that, and I didn't expect it, frankly. So I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot." Well, thanks to both of you for being here today, because I know you guys are so busy, and there is so much happening, especially with Mike, with all the stuff going on at TXR. So I appreciate you guys just taking the time to chat with us. And of course, we have a lot of things to cover. But I will, can I quick share, Jennifer, what I was doing this morning with everybody?
Okay, tell them.
So y'all, in case you didn't know, every year in the January TXR magazine, it talks about who our incoming chairperson is, chairwoman, chairman is. And this morning I was like, oh, I need a quick little refresh on Jennifer. So you had such a great article. I'm so thankful that was in there and I could get to know you a little bit better there. So, well, we won't get to know you here. People can go back and read that, and it's available online too, right? So good.
I think Mike is in one of those magazines somewhere.
Mike did have a little thing in there because
You
I
ever
was
want
like,
to learn
oh,
about him?
That was
camping. Mike goes
buried away a
camping.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Definitely focus on Jennifer this month.
I love it. Well, let's get started because we have a lot of stuff to cover. But the first thing that I think everybody really needs some help with, right, is this whole removal of subagency, right, that happened in 2025. And the fact that this fundamentally shifted the way we do business. This was like a seismic change in the real estate space in Texas. So I guess my question is, and maybe you guys want to like reiterate some different parts of this, are further changes coming that stem from this? That's thing number one. And thing number two, what should we be, what do we need to do as practitioners out in the marketplace that maybe are changes because of this big deal that happened? And Jennifer, do you want to start and then let Mike kind of circle back around? I'm gonna go ladies first.
Yeah,
Please.
sure. Well, yeah, you were referring to Senate Bill 1968 that passed last year, which was a change in the law that made some pretty significant changes to the way that we do business. Probably the biggest changes we have seen in a long time. The biggest one you mentioned being the removal of subagency. I personally think that's a great thing. There was a lot of confusion around subagency. Agents weren't really using it correctly. I definitely don't think consumers understood what it was. It's always just kind of been this messy area. And so this really cleaned it up because now that it is gone, as you mentioned, there were changes. If you look at all of our forms now, subagency is nowhere to be found. So we had to update a lot of things once that legislation was passed. But it really made it black and white. You either represent a client or you do not represent them. That's it. There is no messy middle anymore. And so to accommodate that, we had to make sure that we had a form in place for both of those things. So, we had our buyer's rep agreement. We've had that for a long time, but we now have an unrepresented buyer form. Not that we expect agents to be using that every day, but we needed to have something available because that written agreement requirement is still there, that you have to have something signed by clients, by buyers before you start showing them properties. It can be either one of those, but they need to sign one of them. And so we needed to make sure that we were providing the options for agents to use out there in the field. There were also some other changes that came along, not quite as much attention, but that written agreement piece now applies to everyone. The way it was before was it was dictated by the NAR settlement that happened back in 2024. And it didn't apply to necessarily every licensee out there. If you were a member of a realtor owned MLS, and it had some different caveats in there. Now it is across the board, everyone has to get that written agreement signed before they show a property. We think that's a good thing because it creates consistency out there in the marketplace. And then there was another one that's in there. Hopefully we were all doing this beforehand, but now you have to have a buyer's rep agreement signed at the time of offer. So if you were lazy before with your buyer reps, now you have to get that signed when you start making offers for a client. So there were a lot of big changes. As I'm sure you have been out there teaching, a lot of forms changed based on those changes. And are there more changes coming? My answer to that question will just always be yes, because the world we live in, things are never going to stay the same, doesn't seem. So.
Agreed.
Mike, what else do you want to add to that? Anything else?
Jennifer said it so well, and really, it's making sure that we understand the three major concepts of that 1968 of required written agreements. That there is the ability to show without representation, and then the removal of subagency. And what that's really all about, what it boils down to, is clarity on the part of the consumer, that they understand clearly what services are being provided, and what the agreement is along with that, or lack of agreement in the case of a non-representative showing what you can and can't do, if they just setting those expectations. So that's really, 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 really important. There have been a lot of forms changes, and some that are being that TREC has approved and that Texas Realtors has approved, and you'll see in the various vendors here pretty soon. I think we'll get into that in a little bit, but all in the name of clarity and transparency to the consumer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there still is a little bit of confusion out there from, my experience when I'm teaching about who does this apply to. And certainly this is residential sales, but what about residential leases? Because that's the one people question. I think people feel pretty comfortable with farm and ranch and commercial, but I think on residential leases, sometimes people are like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to be doing? Is there a difference? And do either one of y'all want to talk about that just very briefly for a second?
Yeah, there is. This only applies to residential sales, and so we get that exact same question when we're out speaking with members. The lease piece does seem to confuse people, but for right now, all those things I just mentioned only apply to residential sales.
Yeah, which clearly is an awful lot of our members, right? Lots and lots and lots of realtors across the state are residential sales agents, so it applies to a huge, huge number of real estate agents across the state for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, so since you were talking about forms and you said we might be having changes, I might or might not be a fan of contracts because, that's my jam. But even me, I'm getting tired head. I am so like, can we just have just a little break? But the forms are changing again, and it is frustrating to realtors all across the state. But can you talk a little bit about it? Because I think this time it's important to note it's not all from TREC. Sometimes some of these changes are from Texas Realtors because of the stuff that we've been just talking about. So can you maybe talk about that just a little bit? What we're doing at TXR? Or any forms for that matter.
What we're doing is we're making sure you instructors out there have really good job security because we just keep changing things, so you keep having things to teach. You're right. We have just been the last few years. We have been through a period of enormous change, more so than what we normally see, and there are more changes coming. Good changes, we think, but they are changes, and everybody is going to have that learning curve and is going to have to get used to doing things a slightly different way. I'll start with the first and the biggest, which is the TREC contract is changing. And if you have not had a chance to go take a look at those, well, I was going to say proposed changes, they're happening now. They got official a couple weeks ago. They are official changes. Paragraph 12 looks really, really different. And we had a lot of confusion the last time TREC changed paragraph 12. And what they've done essentially is we've now taken just all the different compensation possibilities and put them right there. So now if the buyer is going to pay their agent, if the seller is going to pay the buyer's agent, all of it is just right there in the contract. So that's a really significant change, going to take some getting used to for some people. And also it means that we had to change our listing agreement to match what the new paragraph 12 looks like. So you will notice here coming out in the next month or so, the Texas Realtors listing agreement is going to not have broker to broker compensation in it anymore. Now, one thing that we've been shouting from the rooftops everywhere we go is that doesn't mean you can't do it. It's not illegal to have broker to broker compensation. We just took it out of the listing agreement because we feel like now most people are just going to be using paragraph 12 of the contract. If you're a broker and that's how you want to do it, not a problem. You can do that outside of the contract, use a different agreement to pay directly to the cooperating broker, but that is coming out of the contract there. We do have, like I mentioned, that unrepresented showing form. That's new, but that is still available. And then our buyer's rep agreement has changed a little bit. Now it's going to have a piece in there where if you would like to charge a retainer, you can do that. So like I said, good changes, but they are just going to look a little different, feel a little different than how we've done business in the past. That piece on page 10, gone now. Everything's going to be in paragraph 12. And hopefully that makes for a less confusing, easier process going forward for how buyers and sellers handle their compensation.
And confusing is the right word. And I think that this is an example of how Texas Realtors and even Trek are responsive to kind of changes in the marketplace and the confusion that ensued after, compensation came out of the MLS. And so, how's it handled? And we saw a lot of mishandling of that in the interaction between paragraph 12 and the Texas Realtors listing agreement. And this is just a way of lessening that confusion, based on input and feedback that we've gotten over the course of the past year or so. And gosh, I mean, if we talked a year ago about paragraph 12, the conversation was a whole lot different than it is today. And ultimately, the concept here is to make sure that it's less confusing, that it's that we're less able to get things wrong in the writing and how those two interact together. And so we of course, we're always taking feedback. That's what this process is all about. It's member driven, and our forms task force has done a really good job of taking that input over the last year and making changes that we think make a lot of sense.
You know what? I'm going to pause right there and kind of say I love that, because Trek, so being part of broker lawyer, right? So with Trek, we put the contract forms out and we say, give us your feedback. And I know from being on that committee, we read every single comment and we make changes sometimes to something that we put out for proposal, and we're like, oh, you know what, that was some good thoughts. Let's make some little tweaks before we actually put it back out for it to be an approved document, right? A promulgated form. And I think that Texas Realtors is doing a really great job of that. I put a lot of comments in. I hope y'all read all of them. I'm sure you did.
Absolutely.
I did.
But I think that that's important, that you, like you said, your forms committee worked really, really hard to try to fix that, and then asked the agents and the brokers across the state, hey, this is what we're thinking about. What do you guys think? Are we on the right track? Is this going to help you? And I think it's so important for people to know that their voice matters.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned the feedback process that was happening at the time of the proposed changes, but also anytime anybody has a comment, input on any of our forms, we have a special email address that's just for that. It's texasrealtors.com, forms@texasrealtors.com. And that's a great way to, hey, think this change needs to be made, or have you thought of this, or whatever. Call the legal hotline. These ideas and feedback and thoughts come to our forms task force through the legal division, whether it's that forms email address or whether it's what we're hearing and what's prevalent coming in on the legal hotline and otherwise.
Yeah,
Be a part of the process.
I love that.
I'll add on to Mike's thing regarding feedback. One of the things that we have heard since we've been out there talking about this removal of broker to broker is people want to know if that compensation agreement between brokers is going to go away. And so that form, and then there was also a compensation agreement between broker owner. Those are going to go away, but not now. Right now, we're going to leave them there. So if people want to use them, or there's a need for people to use them, they will still have them. But like we said, going forward, using paragraph 12, there's really not going to be a need for them. That's not to be confused with the agreement between brokers that we use all the time on leases. That's going to stay there. So it gets a little confusing, but like I said, that's why we have people like you, Melissa.
Nobody loves change, but if you sit back and look at the rationale behind it and wrap your head around the totality of it, I think it'll make sense. And obviously, the challenge for us with so many changes as an organization is making sure that we're communicating and getting information out on these changes so that people can understand them. You may not, today's focus is a great example of that. There's a video of our general counsel, Lori Levy, explaining some of the forms changes. We have a website, texasrealestate.com/legal updates, where you can go, and that's kind of a clearinghouse of all this information of what the changes were, the rationale behind them, resources to be able to understand them better. So that's really goes along with the changes, is the communication, making sure that members understand what they are.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm going to bring us back for one more thing too, because Jennifer said 2402 broker to broker, agreement for compensation is going to go away, but you said not right now. And so I want to make sure that if you're watching and listening today, that y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but the new forms, everything's going to be mandatory July 1st, but we're going to have it out sometime in like mid-June-ish for voluntary use so people can start using it. But if you, and I got this from the TXR legal team who did a instructor training earlier this week, if you have a listing agreement today and it has broker to broker compensation, you don't have to like cancel it and redo it. You can continue to use that listing agreement. You can continue to offer that broker to broker compensation because it's not illegal. And you can even still use that form 2402 for some period of time, because although everything else starts July 1st, those forms aren't going away on July 1st, right? That broker to broker will still be hanging around for a little while. I don't know if we know until when, but for a little while, until we have an opportunity for all of those old contracts to actually kind of filter through and go to closing and all of that stuff. Am I right on that?
That's exactly right. And, I don't know about your market, but my market, things are taking longer to sell. It might be another 3 or 4 months where I get that listing under contract and get it closed. So I need that form up until then. So yes, that's why we are leaving them there. They are still there for use. And this will just be a transition period over the next 6 months to a year as people get used to the new contracts. And, then those older forms, we can maybe pull them away at that time.
Yeah.
Well, and you threw out some dates there. Yes, the TREC mandatory use deadline is July 1st, but June 15th, we're replacing all of the forms libraries in zip forms that you all know so well, but all the other licensed forms vendors that we have out there. So as of June 15th, the old forms won't be available. Now, the ones that are being changed. The ones that are retiring, as you said, will remain there we haven't specified a particular period of time yet so that they can still be referenced. But the ones that are changed and the new forms are going to be on there June 15th. And so that's when, even though it's not yet the mandatory use deadline, if those are the only ones that are going to be available in those platforms.
So, well, let me hit one more thing, because I think all of this is super important. And I feel like hopefully everybody who's watching and listening today is getting some clarity here. But, okay, Jennifer, you mentioned, but that broker to broker agreement for leases is still going to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a new form for the farm and ranch people for co-op compensation, right? Because again, this is all the same conversation we had, from the beginning today, these are big changes for the residential sales agents, right? And so if that's true, then we might still have broker to broker compensation in farm and ranch. We might still have broker to broker compensation in a lease, and we have additional forms for that, right?
We do. And, farm and ranch, I would say, is kind of ahead of the game because they've already had the compensation in their contract for a long time. So you're right. The things we're talking about today, primarily referring to just the residential sales.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so can I shift gears a little bit? Because we've had a lot of contracts talk, and forms are important. As a matter of fact, forms are a huge realtor member benefit, right? When you become a Texas realtor, you don't just get a handful of forms from TREC. You get this ginormous library of forms from TXR, of all kinds of other stuff. But I don't think a lot of people, first of all, equate that to a member benefit, which I think is one of the biggest ones. But what I think people think of is the MLS. Like, I'm going to join and become a realtor because I want that MLS access. But there are so much more. And Mike, I love that sometimes you're like, it's $157. Is that it?
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
He's always, every time I talk to Mike, he's like, well, for $157, here's what you get. So Mike, this is for you.
43 cents a day, by the way.
Right. Exactly.
I love that.
Not that we're counting.
So what do you get? What do I get for my $157 a year? What am I getting, Mike? Tell me more about what TXR is doing for me as a real estate agent, as a broker out in the field.
Well, it's such a fair question, and Jennifer and I and the rest of the leadership team have been traveling the state in our regional meeting tour recently, and we always get into this topic and we ask that question, Melissa, you hit right on it. We say, what do you can anybody tell us what state dues are? And it's abysmally low, the number of people that can actually delineate that, and that's not anybody's fault because you pay your dues all at one time and you get a suite of products and services. And then when we think about, oh, well, where does that actually come from? Sometimes that's a hard question. So we want to make sure that we are effective in communicating what actually that state level service is. And I mean, we could spend the whole hour talking about this, but just to hit on these. I mean, you said it. I mean, think about what it would cost you. Okay, let's take $157. Think about what it would cost you or any other brokerage out there to create a forms library. I would suggest that it would be more than $157. And then you have to keep it updated every 2 years when the legislature comes in and creates all the new laws and track forms changes and we change. So, and then the support system around those. So we'll talk about zip forms here in just a second, but I can tell you that zip forms, if you weren't a realtor member, would cost you way more than that $157 if you were to buy it on the retail market, and that's a state level benefit. One that we've had for a long time has been a huge member benefit for Texas Realtors. But then the support around the forms and all the risk reduction information and research that we put out there. We've got partnerships with E&O companies that tell us, hey, here are the trends, here are the things that are causing trouble. This is what we're seeing in the marketplace in terms of lawsuits and these sorts of things. That's where a lot of the information that you see weekly in the Focus, and then in the Texas Realtors magazine, where those things come from from a risk reduction side. Think about the legal hotline. I'm going to go back to forms. I bet if we had a trivia question about how many forms there actually are, because I got into a debate with our general counsel this morning. I said, we always talk about there's 140 plus forms in the library. Well, 2 weeks ago, I actually counted them. You can print out the table of contents. There's more than 190 in there, forms in there. And so, then talk about the legal hotline. All these questions that we were asking about these forms changes earlier. If anybody has any question, wants to dive deep into them, we've got a team of lawyers there that are there to take your calls. More than 15,000 calls every year come into the legal hotline. Now, I don't know what your individual lawyers charge, but it doesn't take many phone calls to get up to $157, and you've got that access at any point. We're super happy about that. Think about, and I'm focusing on legal right now, but I'm going to go into a lot more here in just a second. But staying on the legal side, just think about the ombudsman program, an ombudsman where if you have a dispute, let's not take it to court and spend a lot of money over this thing. We can resolve this thing. The ombudsman program is exactly there to do that within our professional standards department, or the grievance process. All these things that combined with the advice from the our E&O partners and the risk reduction communications that we're getting out there to try to keep you out of court. And then if ultimately these processes to further try to keep you out of court. But if you are, then we've also got the legal defense fund, which will actually go in, and where there are cases that are precedent setting, Texas Realtors will actually help cover some of the defense costs and those things, so that we don't have bad case law out there that drives the industry. And that's really kind of segues into Texas Realtors as the state association. Our responsibility is that bigger industry picture, making sure that we've got a healthy marketplace, that we provide for smooth real estate processes, that Texas remains the best place to buy, sell, and lease real property in the world, not just the United States, in the world. Texas is the best place, and it's because of the advocacy and the strong voice that Texas Realtors has, and that leads into advocacy as a whole. That's a primary responsibility of Texas Realtors at the state level, and we spend 365 days a year, advocating on behalf of the industry. And it's not just pocketbook issues for realtors. This is about consumers and making sure that consumer consumers are able to enjoy their property and have property rights that are meaningful and protected in the state, and making sure that there's infrastructure in the state, things that a healthy business climate, all of which brings people into Texas. And enhances the health of the real estate industry, and making sure that we have the infrastructure to actually sustain that growth in the state of Texas. And sometimes advocacy is a hard one. When I say that $157, I could tell you're not going to buy a lobby team individually for $157, but more importantly, some of the things that the issues that are advocacy related. It's not just picking candidates in an election, that sort of thing. It's a 365-day process of being successful at the end of a legislative session. And some things you can point to a dollar amount on. You can say, efforts like when we prevented the counties from taxing you on your personal vehicle for business use. Those are dollars and cents things that you can really relate to. But then there are other things that are more broad and general and intangible, zoning and land use type things that are so important to people being able to buy, sell, and enjoy their property that it's hard to put a dollar amount on, but it's something that we take very, 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 very seriously. Has a real impact on the industry that we could talk all day long on. Other things that you get the communications from us. You get the the focus every week, and you get the magazine. And we have a number of different newsletters that we get out there to help share information, and that's great, and it's meaningful. You should look at those things because there's a lot of great information on there, and you want to be the best professional that you possibly can be, and that's a great way to do it, is know what's going on. But then there are also more tangible things that I would suggest that folks really pay attention to and use, and that's in the form of our consumer outreach campaigns. I've been in this role with Texas Realtors for a long time. I've done a lot of strategic plannings for state and local associations, and we always do member surveys, and we say what should your association be doing for you, and whether it's at the local level, the state level, or the national level, every single time that number one answer is talk to consumers about what we do and why we're valuable and how important we are to the transaction, that we're not just opening doors, that there's so much more to it. And so we've taken that really, really seriously over the years, but especially after the narrative had been written following the NAR settlement over the last couple of years, and we saw this negative rhetoric out there, and we said we've really got to double down on this thing, and we increased our spending on consumer outreach by 6 or 7 times going into the last year. And I hope that you've seen some of those digital ads and some of the video ads that we've had out there. Last year we produced three video ads, one on first-time home buyers, upsizers, and downsizers, that really kind of tried to get at the essence of what that value is in a very short amount of time. All those resources, all those pieces are available, not for us to just go out there and put in media, but for realtors to pick up and use in your own spheres of influence, in social media or whatever. You can go to texasrealestate.com/consumer campaigns, and you have access to all of the digital ads that we've done, all of the video ads. We're in the process of creating some new video ads right now, a couple pieces on advocacy, a couple pieces on the seller side. Last year's really focused on that buyer side. So we'll have some seller side material coming out a little bit later this year. We're actually going to go back on one of those the buyer ads and actually record it in Spanish because of how many Spanish speaking consumers that we have here in the state of Texas. So we're really, really excited about that. So keep watching that consumer campaigns URL that I was talking about. And I know by the glassy eyes that I'm getting from both of you, I've been talking way longer than you wanted me to, but I'm gonna end with two other benefits that I think also demonstrate that value. One of those is market viewer. And so as we're talking about being professionals and talking to consumers about trends and what's happening in the market, 10 years ago, we started a program called Market Viewer. We've got partnerships with every MLS in the state of Texas, so that we can put out good turnkey analytics and then other resources for you to go into and explore your markets from the state level on down to the neighborhood level in many markets. So that's a powerful tool that's at your fingertips. Again, that's being provided at the state level, and then we'll just go back on zip forms and what a value that is. and we'll make there will be some changes in zip forms that I think we'll talk about in a minute, but just that product alone, almost doubles that $157.43 a day.
Jennifer, anything else? Because he didn't even talk about like you can get a computer for cheap and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
Rent cars.
And there's more.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because when we talk about member benefits, and a lot of people equate that because it's kind of how it's been talked about over the years. Okay, we got all the tools and resources. Well, what are the member benefits? Well, that's the rental car discounts and the Office Depot discounts and that sort of thing. Well, I like to invert that from member benefits to the benefits of membership. And so it's holistic in that the whole package of benefits and suite of products and services. And yes, those, discounts and partnerships and those sorts of things are important, but it's not the entire value of the organization if you look at it holistically.
I agree. Jennifer,
I'll kind of wrap up everything that he said, and just that we have a campaign that business is better as a member. And we 100% believe that having all these things, the legal hotline, the forms library, zip forms, having all these things available to you makes your job easier. Mike has heard me say it 100 times before, but I'm like, I wish we could pull like an It's a Wonderful Life. And if we took it all away for 2 weeks, I mean, people would be begging to have all of these things back. I think we kind of take them for granted, just the fact that they're there. And we definitely don't, as agents, really know what's coming from the local level and what's coming from the state and what's coming from NAR. And having served in leadership at all three of those levels, they are all providing different benefits to you, and we need all of them. There's things that we can do here at the state level that would be really hard for 71 different local associations to accomplish. So I think agents don't realize how good they have it here, especially here in Texas. And Mike just summed up a bunch of the reasons why.
I love that. And I just want to say the 190-ish or whatever that you said of TXR forms, that's huge because like Trick only gives us like 40-ish.
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely less than 50. I'd have to print it and go count. But man, so much. So many of the forms that we use every stinking day in our business don't come from Trek. They come from Texas Realtors.
That's right. Right. And many of them, if not most of them, have actually been tested. And that's why we stand so strongly behind our forms library. Is number one, they're produced by our legal staff with input from practitioners to know what's happening on the street level on these things. But many of them have been involved in lawsuits. There have been disputes over them, and we've defended those vigorously and have always come out on top. That these are good forms. They're fair for both parties, and they've been tested in court. And I think that if we're talking about well, I'm going to go out and do this on my own, and I can get a lawyer to create some forms for me. That's very true, but you might get tested on some of those things.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, well, so staying kind of on forms, but a little bit off. So we get our forms. Many of the realtor members across the state get our forms inside of zip forms. Not everybody. There's other forms providers, and that's all well, fine, and good. And zip forms has been around for a long time, and it's very massive. But I am super excited that they're getting a little bit of a refresh because I saw the promo video for the Transact platform and was like, like the angels were singing and the heavens were open. I was like, oh, it's going to be great. And I know it's happening like right now. Like right now is all of the kind of rollout stuff. It was even in my MLS when I went to log in this week, a little pop-up came up about Transact. So can you just tell us what is Transact? What should we be expecting? And why is this such a great deal for the members?
Absolutely. No, thank you for going there. Transact is it's not just an upgrade or a refresh. It's a complete overhaul from the ground up. In fact, it's not an improvement to within the same infrastructure as Zip Forms. It's a completely separate product that's replacing. And the concept being that it's a modernization of the Zip Forms product. And Zip Forms has been around for a long time. Originally a product of a realtor association, then kind of broke off and was its own thing. And then a few years ago was acquired by by Lone Wolf, which was able to provide resources that we're seeing the fruits of today. And that's this complete overhaul to make it more competitive with those other products that are out there, more user friendly. It's a complete different user interface. It's mobile first, so you may remember that with zip forms, for it to cooperate with you on a tablet at least, and certainly not on a phone, but on a tablet, you had to pay a separate fee for the mobile edition of zip forms. No longer is that the case. So this is a mobile first product that they've been rolling out nationwide for about a year now. And from Texas Realtor standpoint, when we were approached about rolling it out, and there's so many other changes and things going on in the industry, and we'll go back to people don't like change very much. We said, okay, well let's not be your guinea pig on rolling this thing out. So we've had the benefit of Transact rolling out in other states of all sizes, including as large as California. And so we've been a part of that process, observed, had conversations about experiences that were happening in those other states, and what Lone Wolf has done to alleviate that, to make it as smooth a transition as we possibly can when we roll it out here. And because of all that's going on and changes in the industry, whether it be forms or us kind of getting used to and working through issues with Realm over at Trek, and technology changes and all that sort of thing, didn't want to just flat out say, okay, today here's your new product, and switch over. So we are doing a soft launch. We began a soft launch earlier this week of Transact. So now when you go into ZipForm, you're going to get the option, hey, do you want to go over and try out this new product? All your contracts and contacts are ported over into the new product, so you don't have to go through that process, which is one of the things that took us a little while to make sure that happened smoothly without transition. So I think that people will like the interface. I think it's a lot more user friendly, and as you said, because you're a practitioner, I couldn't tell you whether it makes my life easier or not. You're the ones that have to tell us that. But keep in touch with us, because Lone Wolf and ZipForm, certainly are responsive to input and feedback. They want it to be the best product that they can possibly make it out there. I think the one thing that you'll see right now with it that you may scratch your head about is that DocuSign integrated with the option of using Authentisign or DocuSign. You won't see DocuSign in Transact yet. I don't know what I can say about this, but yet you can't see DocuSign in there. I think that's one thing that's being strongly considered is that reintegration of DocuSign in there. But I'll tell you, Authentisign has been kind of restructured as well, and it functions a lot like what you're used to if you're a DocuSign user. So yeah, we're excited about it. Again, we don't have we're not forcing this anytime soon. I know for certain that the old ZipForm won't go away anytime in 2026, and well into 2027. So in the chat there, you can get some more information. What's really important to us is that we have support materials out there for people that are learning the new product. We spend a lot of time developing support resources there at that URL. If there are things that still don't make a whole lot of sense, or that we need to provide some resources on, please let us know, because we want to make that resource site as useful to you as possible and make it a smooth transition. Because ultimately, once you get over there, I think you'll feel like you're using a much more modern tool, a much more resourceful tool to you. So we're excited about it.
Jennifer, you're out there practicing like I am. What have you played with it?
So I have not gotten a sneak peek yet. I noticed in the chat they dropped a link, so I want to go take a look at it. But one thing that Mike didn't mention that I think is important, and make sure I'm saying this right, Mike, their history, old files in zip forms will transfer over, correct?
Everything but templates is my understanding. So your old contracts and your contacts transfer over, but as I understand it, that's a different story with templates.
Well, I'm going to go play with it if there's a button, because I am so excited. And I will just tell you guys as a practitioner, because this is important feedback for Texas Realtors too. We use zip forms at my office, and we looked at some alternatives I don't know, like 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And everywhere I went, I was so frustrated with the fact that everything was attached to an address. And I thought, well, gosh, if I have a buyer, I don't know what address they're going to buy yet. Like, how can I attach it to an address? I don't know. And the new Transact platform works on each file being attached to your consumer. And I am super excited about that because then I don't have to have an address and I can have a buyer with a buyer rep agreement and all the other documents and not know what house they're going to buy yet and not have a problem syncing it up and making my system work. So I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for the mobile first because that is the way we operate. I mean, I don't know about any other realtors out there that are watching, but I don't like to come back to my desk to write an offer.
It is 2026.
Yeah, and doing it at the airport, Jennifer, on your phone. Tell me you love
brutal.
it.
It was brutal before. So I think everybody is excited about the new mobile platform.
And Jennifer, who packs smartly and can get that carry-on everywhere she goes, she's got to be able to do it on her phone.
That's another webinar. We can talk about
right.
packing.
Yeah, notorious on the packing there. But and Melissa, you made a good point about other products out there and recognizing that people do, and we do periodically as we renew contracts with Lone Wolf on this product. We get members together and we say, listen, is this still the right product for Texas Realtors and our offering? And overwhelmingly each time that we do that, it comes back to Zip is the right tool on a member wide basis, and we understanding that many use other products out there, and that's why we license forms to those other products to make sure that we're supplying the updated forms to where members are actually using them. But last I looked on some of the metrics, more than 80% of our members have active Zip form accounts, which says to me that whether you're actually using it or not, that there's still awareness and buy-in to the Zip form product. So that's how that conversation is going.
Yeah. And I feel like everybody listening is probably like, and thank you, Texas Realtors, for taking it slow and checking it out and doing a little rollout and having some training, because it's frustrating when a state organization uploads their stuff and says, good luck, everybody, and it doesn't work. And I mean, I know Trek has been working really, really hard, and I'm a fan of Trek and I'm a fan of the Realm Portal, but the frustrations are big.
Yeah.
And
it really is.
And this is a big deal. So rolling it out in the way that you're rolling it out, I think, is smart, because we don't want to cause any more. There's enough frustration in the marketplace, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, so I have another member benefit that I would like to bring up. And I love some of the stuff because I was reading up on you again this morning, Jennifer, and you mentioned some of the serving and how it impacts your business and all of that. And I think a good member benefit we have is the fact that we have a winter meeting every year, which is great. I have lots of great connections and friends with real estate agents from all across the state. But the even bigger one is the Shaping Texas conference. So this year we're going to the Riverwalk. Is that right? What are we doing this year? When is it? Where are we going? And why should I go? Why should I go to the Shaping Texas conference? What's happening?
We will be on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, Texas this August from August 26th through the 30th. And if you have never attended a Texas Realtors conference before, would love to invite you and ask you to come down. It really is a great time of speakers, networking, CE classes. There's some really fun events. And I'm a big fan of conferences in general. I think sometimes you just need to get out of your, the four walls you're doing business in every day and have some conversations with other people who are doing the same things that you are doing across the state. And you can learn, you can form really great relationships that'll benefit your business. So we would love to have any Texas Realtors member come. You can register. I believe it's open right now. Is that right, Mike?
That's right. Yep.
You can hop in, register, come on down. Everybody loves San Antonio. Good food, lots to do. So we would love to have you come down. Our keynote speaker is John, and I'm going to butcher his last name. Quinones, yes. You said it better than I did. I may not know his last name, but when you see his face, you go, oh, I know that guy, because he is the host of What Would You Do? A journalist, a San Antonio resident, I believe. And so he's going to be there talking to us. Overall, it's always a really great, fun event. And I just think there's something special about all the realtors from Texas coming together. So would love to see you register and come down and join us for that.
Mike, you have any
Yeah,
other thoughts on it?
it's a great low touch way to be able to get engaged with the association if you're not already. And I'll plug committee signups here in just a second. But if you're not already engaged and involved with the association, it's a good way to come check out what we do, what we offer, the information, the networking. All those opportunities there are really on display in San Antonio, and everybody loves San Antonio so much. When we go down there, it's one of our most popular and requested venues for conference. So come see us down there. Yeah, I mentioned the focus earlier today. Today's a really good focus one to look at, because you've got your link to registering for conference. You've got the video on forms changes, some other great information on there. You also have a link in there to sign up for committees, and committees goes right along with conference, because if we can't emphasize anything, we want to emphasize the importance and how much of a member-driven organization we are. What we do comes from member input up through the committee process, and so many different opportunities to engage and have a voice on the direction of the association, the offerings that we put out there and work on day to day. Our public policy committees, those committees right now are working night and day on formulating what our positions are going to be going into the legislative session next year. We don't just go in there and show up and say, what's important? What do you all want to talk about? It's a thoughtful, deliberate, and most importantly, a member-driven process. So if you haven't been involved in a committee or gone to conference, please take those opportunities. And like Jennifer said, conference registration is open right now. Committee sign up goes now through the end of June. So you've got some time to dig in, look at and see if there are opportunities that are attractive to you, and sign up. So thank you for
And
that.
I think you brought up something that I think we should point out, Mike. I think there maybe is a misconception out there that these conferences are only for people who serve on committees, or they're on the board of directors, they're already involved in the association. Absolutely not. Like, this is open to any Texas Realtors member. This is your association. Yes, we do have some committee meetings, but a lot of them are open. You can sit in and hear what's actually going on. We have a lot of forums, like I mentioned before, the CE classes. There's tons of stuff for you to attend to. And so don't think that it's just, oh, well, I've never done anything with Texas Realtors before, so that's not for me. It is absolutely open to every single Texas Realtors member.
Well,
I'd love to see you there.
Yeah, and I think okay. I have a couple of other, like, I have two more thoughts, maybe three. I don't know. I have a couple things on conference. Number one, I already signed up, and there's a free option. If you don't want the CE, you can just come. It doesn't cost you anything. I think that's pretty awesome. If you want the CE, it was a whopping $95. I don't know how many CE classes I usually get at a conference, but it's way more than like a class or two. It's a lot. And so I think it's a great deal for $95. And the other thing is, I think, at least for me, and I don't know, I feel like, though, I meet a lot of real estate agents, and I love this concept of work hard, play hard. And so I'm going to work hard because I'm going to be there at the conference. I'm going to take the CE and whatever, but I'm also going to play hard while I'm there. But what I will tell you is, please don't rent the scooter, the little, scooter, the little bird, and try to take it on the Riverwalk, because that's not allowed and they will stop you. Don't ask me how I know, but I know that that's true. And you also can't take it in the Alamo. You can take it from the Alamo to the Riverwalk, but you can't actually go on either one of those things on a little scooter.
This webinar took a turn, didn't it?
I might have been to a Texas Realtors conference in San Antonio in my past. But I
You
also
sound like a fun person to go to a conference with, is what you sound like.
Well, and here's the thing, and Jennifer, I'm sure you're the same way, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it out here for anybody watching. If you want to come to conference and it's your first time to come and you don't know anybody, literally, like, look me up. I'll meet you down in the hotel lobby, bar, restaurant area, and talk to you about what you need to do and help you figure out what to do on your schedule and get you going, because I think it should be each one bring one, right? So
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And find us too. We love, that's our favorite part
Absolutely.
of conferences, sitting there in the hallway talking to members.
I might or might
Don't
not
be shy.
be caught
Realtors
doing
are
that.
friendly. Somebody's going to take you in under their wing. Trust me.
Wait,
You're not going to be sitting alone.
Are you saying we talk a lot? Yes, we do. We're very friendly. Okay, so Mike, I think you had one other thing that you wanted to mention when we were kind of talking about conference and getting down there. I don't remember what you mentioned, but you said, "Oh, and I have one more thing I'm going to talk about," and I don't remember what that was. Oh no, he's like, me neither.
Committee signups is what I
Oh,
was
committee
adding on
sign
there.
up. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, and just to reiterate, we're in committee sign up period right now, and again, there are a range of committees in terms of time commitments and expertise and prior involvement in the association. So there's a place for everybody, whether you're, a veteran of engagement with the committee process, or whether this is your first time. Feel free to reach out to us if you need advice on, hey, I want to get in, but I don't feel like I'm ready for this or this or this. We can help you down that pathway to your engagement. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's having great people who care a lot about the association and the industry and the professionalism of the industry, helping us to be able to provide resources to accommodate that. And so we want you. We are a member-driven organization. I can't say that enough. And so that's where it all begins and ultimately ends, from the committee level to executive board level and board of directors. That's where we get our marching orders from. And so it's super important. I wish that we had positions for the 2,000 or 3,000 people that sign up for committees, but we've got probably about 200 or so committee positions available. But we certainly want to have people engage, be able to get people into the right seats that help the organization move forward.
I love it. Can I also just add one other thing about going and doing all this committee stuff? My favorite part about being at conference is to go to the board of directors meeting, even if you're not on the board of directors, because every one of those committees has some kind of report to bring back. And it's like I attended the whole entire conference in like a couple of hours because I got all the updates on all of the stuff. And I think that if I was talking to a first time attendee, that's what I would tell them. Come and see all the stuff and hang out and go get your CE, but don't leave before board of directors. Go and stay and sit in the back and watch what happens and see how the process works and get all of the tidbits of information from all the different committees that you're talking about, Mike. It's important.
Yeah, no, great advice.
Great tip.
Advice.
Yeah, for sure.
Ride your scooter over to the board of directors meeting.
Not in the board of directors.
Not, they probably won't let you rent it inside the hotel either, although I didn't try that.
We don't know if it's illegal, but Melissa's going to find out for us.
I might have to take a picture of me in a scooter at the conference this year and be like, this scooter.
I'm surprised they still let you in San Antonio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm not too much of a troublemaker, I'm sure. All right. Well, y'all, thank you so much for taking the time. And I know it was, you have such busy schedules and you got a lot happening and you're traveling all around, going to the T360 meetings and talking to the agents, live in person where they're at and listening to what they have to say. But I thank you very, very much for taking some time today and just participating and being with us, because my goal is always to get as much information to as many agents as possible. So if I can do that digitally and they can watch it at midnight in their PJs if they want to, that's the way we're going to do it. So thank you very much for joining us today. And Jennifer, thank you for serving, because that's a really, really, really big job. And thank you for, letting your team run its thing while you're out there helping to make things better for all real estate agents in Texas. You're amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you for hosting this. It's always fun to be with you.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
All right. Well, Mike, do you have any closing words before we go?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. This is what makes this organization function, is us meeting like this and being able to involve as many people as we possibly can. It's not just a silent effort from an office in Austin. This is what makes us strong, is getting together, things like conference, but even smaller things like these conversations are so important. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for giving us the opportunity, and look forward to joining you again next time.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. And we've got a little screen share there for anybody who wants to check everything out and sign up so that they can be there for the next one. And you guys, thanks again so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And y'all go have an amazing week this week and a good holiday weekend.
Thanks so much.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.